on this edition of DSPL Weekly. Birmingham's new general manager shows out. Minnesota and San Antonio set the battlefield ablaze. And Pig's Eye in Colorado slug it out for 500. That and more on this Week 5 recap of the Dork Side Pokemon League. Next. Hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of DSPL Weekly. I am your host and commissioner of the Dork Side Pokemon League. I am Grumm. We officially passed the halfway mark in the inaugural season of the league, and we're starting to see teams establish themselves amongst the rest of the league, which now includes 2 new general managers who got their first taste of the league this week. And for the first time since week 1, we have all 6 games being played, and boy, do we have some incredible games for you. You can catch all the DSPL action every week live on twitch.tv/tgrum or here on YouTube. And you can keep up with the league by going to dspl.grum.tv. Comment below your favorite DSPL teams and subscribe for more content for the league, like this video that you can also hit that like button on. With all that out of the way, let's get it started with our kickoff game. Our first game takes us to Cambridge as the first place Clodsire look to stay undefeated against the last place Boston Bronzors. Cambridge comes in 4-0 with a plus 14 score differential, which is the complete opposite of Boston, who comes in 0-4 in a minus 14 score differential. Cambridge bring Duff Guys pack consistent core of Specs Dragapult, Specs Clawitzer with a Dragon-type Terra possibility, and Attack Booster Energy Great Tusk. Making consecutive starts for Cambridge is Choice Scarf from a Bostiff, as Mousehold also makes its season debut with Wide Lens attached to it. And making their return to the lineup is the mascot Clodsire, who comes equipped with Water Absorb, Toxic, and Hazards. General Manager Hobb makes his DSPL debut with a Heavy Duty Boots Galarian Slowking, newly named Terra Captain, Terra Water, Slush Rush, Satitan, Leftovers Rotom Wash, Rocky Helmet Corviknight, Heavy Duty Boots Hisuian Arcanine with Rockhead ability, and Light Clay support screening Grimmsnarl. Glowking and Mousehold lead off of our matchup, giving Mousehold a tasty opportunity to get its first knockout of the season on its debut, but Hobb swaps to Corviknight as Mousehold begins to land Population Bomb after Population Bomb. Corviknight simply laughs, not because it's resisting of the damage, but Mousehold does more damage to itself due to Corviknight's Rocky Helmet, eventually taking itself out, giving Boston a 6-5 lead on turn 1. Clawitzer comes out, which gives Hobbs a chance to reset a bit and bring back Glowking, who takes a Water Pulse for a chunk and gets confused. Both general managers make a switch out as Great Tusk and Rotom Wash come out. Expecting a Hydro Pump, Pat swaps in Clodsire, who blocks Rotom from doing anything. Its Water Absorb walls its Water typing, and its Groudon typing walls its Electric moves. Hobb predicts the Toxic and swaps in Glowking, and after a couple turns of passive positioning with Hazards from Clodsire and a Future Sight from Glowking, both general managers again to swap out their Pokemon as Boston brings in Satitan with no Chilly Reception being used, and Cambridge brings out Mabostiff. With no Snow Up and no defensive boost, Hobb brings in Corviknight to take a stakeout boosted Crunch that does about half of its health, takes a chip damage as well. Another Crunch takes out Corviknight, tying the match at 5. After bringing Clodsire in to take a Spirit Break from Grimmsnarl, Duff Guy Pack correctly calls that the taunt is coming and goes for a Gunk Shot that not only does 75% of Grimmsnarl's health, but also poisons it, bringing it down to its last bit of health. Clodsire finishes it off with another Gunk Shot, giving the Clods a 5-4 lead. Slowking comes back out and predicts Clodsire to switch out and goes for a Chilly Reception to bring in Satitan, who gets a nice boost to its defense and a double to its speed, outspeeding Great Tusk, who sits in front of it. Not having enough health to safely go for a Belly Drum, Satitan goes for an Ice Spinner, which hits the Tusk for about half of its health, who counters, knocking off the Citrus Berry from Satitan. Satitan Terras the next turn into a Water type, losing its defensive boost as Clawitzer comes in for Cambridge, taking a Liquidation for about a quarter of its health and a defensive drop. An Earthquake is not enough to take down the gun with a shrimp attached to it, as its Dragon Pulse takes down to Titan, pushing the Cambridge lead to 5-3. Glow King comes back out, and its high special defense forces Clawitzer out and Mabostiff in, getting hit with a Toxic along the way. Glow King shows off its good bulk as it takes a super effective crunch, lives, and hits a Sludge Bomb for enough damage that poison damage finishes off the Mabostiff, bringing the match to 4-3. Unfortunately for Boston, Cambridge brings out Dragapult that hits a U-turn that knocks out the Slow King, leaving Boston with two Pokemon who do not match up well at this point. Cambridge takes advantage of this and positions themselves well, with Clodsire landing a Toxic on both Rotom Wash and Hisuian Arcanine. Boston, though, does bring the score a little bit closer as Flare Blitz takes out Great Tusk, bringing Cambridge down to a 3-2 lead, but Dragapult outspeeds and takes out both Arcanine and Rotom with Shadow Balls, finishing off this match and giving Cambridge a 3-0 victory. Boston has a lot to be happy with, even in the loss. For one, they brought down their average margin of defeat. They'll be 0-5 with a -17 score differential and likely in last place. But Galarian Slow King did very well this week, getting a knockout and a status as well. Boston will look to get their first victory next week as they face off against fellow new general manager Cornman and the Birmingham Bouffalants. Cambridge will remain in first place thanks to moving to 5-0 and a +17 differential. A big week from Clodsire and Dragapult both, but Clodsire takes the star of the game here because of its problems that it caused both Rotom Wash and Slowking, getting a knockout, a hazard, and 3 statuses. Cambridge would like to start the second half of the season the same way they ended the first half, with a win, this time against the Colorado Doug Trios. We head to the land of Dingoes and Roos as the 7th place Aussie Illusion take on the 4th place Arizona Diamondbacks. Arizona comes into this matchup 3-1 with a +7 differential, looking to keep pace with Cambridge in the group of 3-1 teams. Aussie, on the other hand, comes into this one following a close loss to Colorado last week that sent them to 2-2 with a -1 differential. For this matchup, Aussie Marcus sticks with the tried and mostly true Trick Room group of Black Glasses King Gambit, Assault Vest Iron Hands, Life Orb Diancie, Life Orb Terra Ground Captain Caparajah, Leftovers Cresselia, and new to Hatterene this week is Eject Button. Tasked with dealing with Trick Room this week for AW in Arizona are Choice Band Sneasler, Assault Vest Tinglu, Leftovers Terra Steel Captain Douchbun, Leftovers Bronzong, Leftovers Intimidate Gyarados, and Terra Fire Captain Delphox. Aussie leads its bulkier Trick Room setter in Cresselia as Sneasler leads for Arizona, threatening major damage on turn 1. Seeing a quad weak Sneasler, Aussie opts to go for a Psychic instead of setting up Trick Room, but Sneasler U-turns out and brings in the Dark type Ting Lu. Expecting a Dark type move, Marcus swaps to Hatterene for neutral damage, but AW predicts this and goes for an Earthquake that lands a critical hit and activates its Eject Button, which allows Aussie to bring in Iron Hands, who is not affected by Ting Lu's Ruin ability. This starts a chain of defensive pivoting that ends on turn 6 as Bronzong lands a Body Press that takes out Hatterene, giving the backs a 6-5 lead. We jump ahead to turn 9 as Cresselia comes back out to take a Body Press from Terra Steel Douchbun. Cresselia gets yawned as it sets up Trick Room, but AW is prepared as his Doughy Doggy roars Iron Hands out of there, and then yawns Diancie as it gets brought out, wasting 2 turns of Trick Room before bringing out Bronzong, who steals Psychic type, and its Levitate ability walls everyone but King Gambit. Trick Room ends as Bronzong gets rocks up as Crest goes back to full health on the turn. AW's experience advantage is on full display as AW correctly predicts that King Gambit is coming in, swapping to Ting Lu, who goes for an Earthquake on the next turn. But Aussie brings in Cresselia, showing Aussie Marcus has good knowledge as well, pivoting on an Earthquake. Predicting another Dark type move, Aussie gets Iron Hands in, and another chain of pivots takes us to turn 24 as a weakened and poisoned Cresselia swaps out to avoid a Dark type move. In comes Caparajah, but AW gets it right and lands an Earthquake that takes it out, giving him a 6-4 lead. A couple turns later, Cresselia and Ting Lu are eye to eye again, but this time Aussie Marcus reads the Earthquake and gets a Moonlight off, but doesn't notice that Ting Lu is slower, as on the next turn, it takes a Throat Chop to set up Trick Room, giving Ting Lu the advantage. Another Throat Chop takes down Cresselia and the backs have a 3-mana advantage. One that turns into a 6-2 lead as Diancie falls to an Earthquake on turn 31. Iron Hand tries as it might to give the illusion a chance, landing major damage on Ting Lu before surviving a Gyarados Earthquake with a sliver of health, landing a Thunder Punch that prevents the shutout. But Douchbun's able to come in and outspeed both Iron Hands and King Gambit, landing 2 Body Presses to close out the game for Arizona, giving them a 5-0 victory. Aussie did not match up well this week, thanks in part to Ting Lu and Bronzong being defensive nightmares for most of the illusion. But Iron Hands getting a knockout late in the match prevented the shutout. Aussie, now 2-3 with a -6 score differential, will try to end the losing streak at 2 when they take on Corpus Christi next week. Tinglu continues to establish herself in the league as the best of the ruined legendary Pokemon, netting 3 knockouts this week and causing Aussie to never get going this week. Arizona goes into battle against Pig's Eye next week at 4-1 with a +12 differential, but in what place depends on the result of our next match. We head to Minnesota as the 3rd place Doduos take on the 2nd place San Antonio Sphere. Minnesota has a chance for a statement win this week as they're also 3-1 with a +8 differential and amid the top of the league. San Antonio can potentially remain in 2nd with the win, as they're 3-1 with a +9 differential depending on how the tiebreakers break out the rest of the week. Basque heard the demand to name a Terra Captain, and not only did he name 2, he brought them both, the first change to his game day lineup since week 2. Terra Rock Leafeon with Chlorophyll and Life Orb makes its debut, and Jolteon forgoes the choice specs in favor of Leftovers with a setup Flare and Terra Fairy status. Also making their season debuts for Minnesota is Life Orb Weavile and Choice Band Basque Legion in case of rain. Rounding out the Doduos this week are League Leader knockouts Choice Scarf Lycanroc Dusk and Choice Band Cinderace. San Antonio, on the other hand, has stuck with what's worked for 4 weeks. Heat Rock Torkoal, Choice Specs Walking Wake, Life Orb Roaring Moon, Assault Vest Volcanion, and Heavy Duty Boots Volcarona. But there is a change this week, as Iron Moth's booster energy gives it a speed boost this week. Minnesota leads Leafeon in the sun as Torkoal makes it 5 straight weeks of leading off for San Antonio. Burger predicts a switch and puts up a layer of rocks, but Leafeon stays in, doesn't Terra, and now Swords dances to +2 attack, making it a threat to sweep in the sun. Leafeon starts the potential sweep as it terrestrializes into a rock type and lands a Terra Blast that takes out Torkoal, giving Minnesota a 6-5 lead. Walking Wake comes out next, but it's outsped and goes down to a Leaf Blade, pushing Minnesota's lead to 6-4. One that quickly turns to 6-3 as Leafeon lands an X-Scissor on Roaring Moon, putting San Antonio in a dire position. That's when Burger sends out Iron Moth, whose booster energy activates, giving it enough speed to outspeed Leafeon due to not fully investing into speed this week. Iron Moth goes for a substitute on consecutive turns, which drains Leafeon's health due to its Life Orb, meaning Iron Moth can get off an energy ball that takes out Leafeon and brings the match to 5-3. Bass sends out Lycanroc, who normally has a Cellurock on its moveset, but it doesn't this week. But it still has a speed tie with Iron Moth, so it's a 50-50 coin flip that the luck does not go on the side of Doduos. Iron Moth goes first and lands an energy ball that brings the Rock Wolf down and the score to 5-4. Basque Legion, unlike Lycanroc, does have a priority move in Aqua Jet this week. But it's clear that Burger is in Basque's head as Basque goes for anything but an Aqua Jet, as another energy ball takes down the fish in its debut, tying the match at 3. Cinderace is able to stop the bludgeoning as it survives a sludge wave and lands a high jump kick, risking the accuracy anyways, and giving Minnesota a 3-2 lead. This gives San Antonio an opportunity to finish off Minnesota as Volcarona comes in and begins to set up on the Choice Banded Rabbit. After getting one Quiver Dance in to outspeed the rest of the team, Volcarona finishes off the Rabbit with a Flamethrower to tie the game at 2. Volcarona finishes off the Doduos, first getting back to full health to avoid any crit shenanigans as Weavile goes down to a +2 Bug Buzz and then Jolteon to a +2 Flamethrower, giving San Antonio a 2-0 victory. Minnesota has to be kicking themselves as they could have had an impactful victory had they just gone to Basque Legion for the Aqua Jet after Leafeon went down. Leafeon performed well for them, getting 3 quick knockouts, putting in a good position. Basque will take this chance to learn and come back next week at 3-2 with a +6 differential for another high-profile matchup against the Long Island Ducklets. Burger will hoping that Long Island trips up this week as it can remain in 2nd place with a Long Island loss. Either way, San Antonio has to be happy with being 4-1 and having a +11 score differential, and happy with Iron Moth, who had another strong this week, being able to start the comeback with 3 knockouts. San Antonio's Weather Warriors will get some home cooking next week as they welcome the defensive brutes of the British Bangers. As we're halfway through this week's recap, I'd like to thank you all for your continued support, like subscribing to the channel as we're on our way to 200 subs, and the recent subs have really been great to see, as well as the likes, which go a long way in fighting the algorithm and getting more eyes on the video. You can also fight the algorithm by commenting below who you have as your first half season MVP. Now let's get back to the rest of week 5. We resume our recap with the debuting general manager Cornman leading the 11th place Birmingham Bouffalants against the 5th place Long Island Ducklets and their general manager Johnner. The Boufs are coming into this one following 3 straight forfeit losses, giving them an 0-4 record and a -12 differential. but the addition of interim general manager Corman gives the Boufs hope for a second half surge. General manager Johnner has piloted the Ducklets excellently this year, just the one hiccup to have them at 3-1 with a +5 differential. Birmingham overhauled the roster in a big way, but brings into battle two Pokemon who survived the roster cuts in Choice Scarf Zoroark and Flame Orb Guts Ursaluna. Making their season debuts are Focus Sash Klefki, Heavy Duty Boots Hisuian Braviary, Leftovers Toadstool, and the first Pokemon to be cut from a team and find themselves on a new team, Salamence, equipped with a Roselli Berry. Long Island brings the intimidating Landorus T with a Rocky Helmet, Life Orb Iron Valiant, Assault Vest Hisuian Electrode, Choice Band Hisuian Samurott, Eviolite Murkrow, and Attack Booster Energy Iron Treads. Both teams lead their prankster Pokemon as Murkrow leads for Long Island and Klefki for the Boufs. The Klefki's Terra, despite not being a Terra captain, as Murkrow lands a taunt, but Klefki counters with a Terra Blast that takes out the Murkrow, giving Birmingham an early 6-5 lead. Hisuian Electrode comes in and takes another Terra Blast, hitting a Volt Switch after that does more than half of its health, revealing it was Zoroark all along, as Samurott decides to come in for Long Island despite the disadvantage in typing. Johnner goes for an Aqua Jet that would have taken out the Zoroark, but instead it hits Salamence, who easily takes it, allowing it to set up a Dragon Dance the next turn as Long Island sends out Electrode ready to Terra. Electrode dodges a dual Wing Beat and hits back with a Fairy Terra Blast that would have knocked out the dragon had it not been for the Roselli Berry. In dire need to hit its dual Wing Beat, Salamence lands them both to take out Electrode, giving the Boufs a 6-4 lead. Iron Treads comes out next, and with Salamence opting for Iron Head, Dual Wing Beat, and Dragon Claw as its 3 attacking moves, Salamence needs to swap out as Iron Treads lands an Ice Spinner on the switched-in Toadstool, removing the only hazard remover for the Boufs, making it a 5-4 match in favor of Birmingham. The real Klefki comes out and survives an Earthquake thanks to its Focus Sash and sets up a Trick Room. Klefki puts down a layer of spikes before falling to an Ice Spinner, bringing the match to 4 apiece. Ursaluna comes out to take advantage of Trick Room, and Johnner predicts a strong Earthquake as he swaps the Landorus to intimidate the Big Bear and waste a turn in a Trick Room. But Corman did his homework and went for an Ice Punch that almost takes down the Land Genie as Ursaluna's Flame Orb activates its Guts ability. Johnner keeps Lando around by switching out for Samurott, who takes a Facade that nearly knocks it out after Spike's chip. Samurott goes for an Aqua Jet to get a good chunk of damage in before the bear takes it out and Trick Room expires. Now down 4-3, Johnner sends out Iron Valiant, who I said was the key Pokemon for Long Island this week, and it starts off its game in a strong way, hitting Ursaluna for a Moonblast to take it down and tying the game at 3. A Shadow Ball on the next turn onto Hisuian Braviary is not enough to take it out as Braviary counters with Esper Wing, taking down the Valiant and boosting its speed. All is not lost yet for Long Island. Down 3-2, they just need Treads to get 2 Rapid Spins to outspeed the Zoroark, and a little luck needed as well. But Johnner opts to go for an Ice Spinner to take down the Braviary after it hits a Hurricane onto Treads, going into turn 16 tied at 2. Perhaps Johnner was going to get the speed boost on the Salamence as Tread can resist its move. But Salamence got not just one flinch with an Iron Head, but 2 straight, forcing Treads to go for the Ice Spinner, which brings Zoroark out as the last mon for Birmingham, but is able to outspeed both of the remaining Ducklets, finishing off Treads and Landorus with a Flamethrower, giving Birmingham their first win of the season, 1-0. Long Island is going to kick themselves. They had a chance to move up with the standings even before any of the matches, thanks to at least one of the teams ahead of them losing. They'll fall to 3-2 with a +4 differential. A strong week from Iron Treads with 4 knockouts, and they'll need to see another week like that from him as they'll face the Minnesota Ordealers next week. Give it up for Cornman and the Birmingham Boufs, everybody. The moment did not get to them as they faced a team coming off a huge win over a great team, and Unovan Zoroark was a big reason for that win. The Boufs moved to 1-4 with a -4 differential and will face fellow new general manager Hobb and the Boston Bronzors next week. Our last match before our premium matchup, we head to Britain as the 10th place Corpus Christi Crobats take on the 9th place British Bangers. Both teams come into this match at 1-3, with the British Bangers having the edge over the Corpus Christi Crobats due to their -2 differential and the Crobats having a -9 differential, looking to get things on track this season. General Manager Oren brings a vastly different lineup than normal as the only defensive-minded Pokemon he brings is Leftover Garganacl. In place of the rest of Stall Stable, Choice Band Masquerada, Flame Orb Terra Normal Flareon, Focus Sash Spidops, Light Clay Abomasnow, and Life Orb Brambleghast join in the battle for the Bangers. General Manager CJ of Corpus Christi brings a very familiar team as Razor Claw Gallade, Heavy Duty Boots Garchomp, Leftovers Charizard, Throat Spray Rillaboom, Metal Coat Donphan, and Scope Lens Serena are his 6. The battle starts as British leads Spidops and Garchomp leads for the Corpus Christi Crobats. Garchomp lands an Earthquake as Spidops sets down a Sticky Web. Garchomp goes for a layer of Hazardous Zone with rocks as Abomasnow gets brought in following a U-turn from Spidops. CJ switches Garchomp out for Charizard, whose Fire type threatens Abomasnow, but Abomasnow doesn't go for a Blizzard, instead sets up an Aurora Veil, giving the Bangers a layer of protection from both physical and special attacks. Garganical comes out on a Flamethrower from Charizard, which allows it to begin to set up from behind the veil, cursing and then landing a Salt Cure on an incoming Serena, who can do massive damage with a crit, ignoring the screen and defensive boost. But Serena is unable to get a crit on its 2 attempts as Salt Cure chips away at it, taking it out and giving the Bangers an early 6-5 lead. With Garganical now at +2 attack and defense thanks to its curses, it's primed to roll as Gallade goes for a Will-O-Wisp that is neutralized by Garganical's Purifying Salt ability. A Psycho Cut does almost nothing as another Body Press takes out Gallade, bringing out Rillaboom. 2 drum beatings from Rillaboom combine for about half of the Garganical's health, but leftovers and grassy terrain give Garganical more than enough health to survive and take out the Grass Gorilla, giving the Bangers a 6-3 lead. Charizard can't do much as grassy terrain reduces the Earthquake from doing what little damage it would have done in the first place, allowing Garganical to end 13 with another knockout and more health than it begun the turn with, as Salt Cure claims another victim this time. With 2 Pokemon left, Garganical seems poised to go for the sweep. Garchomp locks itself into Outrage, which does enough damage that after 2 Rough Skins, the Garchomp is able to take out the Garganical with it as Body Press knocks out the Dragon type, but Recoil from Rough Skin finishes off the Man Mountain Salt to prevent the shutout victory. Meowscarada finishes off Donphan with 2 Flower Tricks, giving British a 5-0 victory. Corpus Christi, much like Aussie, had a bad matchup, but despite having 2 Grass types and 2 Ground types, couldn't do anything to stop Garganical this week. Garchomp got the lone knockout thanks to its Rough Skin ability, but there's not much else for the Crobats to take away from this. 1-4 and a -14 differential, the Crobats take on the Illusion next week. British needed this win going into the second half of the season in a big way. Without the tiebreaker to Colorado and a forfeit victory over Boston, this win was very important for their standings. The star of the game being without a doubt Garganical, who got 5 knockouts. British moves to 2-3 with a +2 differential for next week's tussle with San Antonio. And finally, our premium matchup. In a battle between 2 teams aiming to be over 500 for the first time this season, the 6th place Pig's Eye Pignite hosts the 8th place Colorado Dugtrios. The Pignite come into this week 2-2 with a +1 differential, but both of their victories come as results of forfeit from Birmingham and Boston earlier this season. Colorado comes into this matchup with a 2-game winning streak, bringing them to 2-2 with a -3 differential. Pig's Eye General Manager Didac makes the bold call to sit Annihilate this week against the threats on Colorado, opting instead to feature Focus Sash, Frostlass, Leftovers Hisuian Typhlosion, Choice Specs Hoopa Unbound with 3 physical moves, Air Balloon Gengar, Black Sludge Gilmora, who makes its season debut, and Leftovers Palisand. Brazilian Fury keeps what's been working for Colorado as he brings the core of Life Orb Tornadus T, Leftovers Zapdos, Quick Claw Scizor, and Leftovers Quick Draw Galarian Slowbro. Rounding out the lineup is the returning Lucario with a Focus Sash, and debuting this season, Rocky Helmet Cantonian Dugtrio. Pig's Eye starts off with Gilmora as Colorado leads with Dugtrio, which is unfortunate for Pig's Eye as Arena Trap prevents Gilmora from doing anything with Colorado's mascot, outspeeding it and knocking out with an Earthquake, giving the Dugtrios a 6-5 lead. Frostlass comes out next for Pig's Eye, and Dugtrio misses its Stone Edge as Frostlass sets up a Destiny Bond in an attempt to scare out the Dugtrio. Dugtrio stays in though and misses another Stone Edge, allowing Frostlass to land an Ice Beam to take it out, evening the game at 5. Colorado's leading knockout artist Tornadus T comes out and goes for a Heat Wave that lands, and Frostlass holds on thanks to its Focus Sash, but instead of going for the Destiny Bond bait, Frostlass lands another Ice Beam that takes out Tornadus, giving Pig's Eye the 5-4 lead before Scizor comes out and evens up the score at 4 with a Bullet Punch. The action doesn't slow down as Hisuian Typhlosion comes out and tears into a Fire type as it lands a huge Flamethrower onto Galarian Slowbro as it comes in for Scizor. Typhlosion finishes off with another Flamethrower on turn 7 to bring the score to 4-3 as Zapdos comes in. To quote several PokeTubers, if it's not 100% accurate, it's 50% accurate. A lesson Brazilian Fury learns the hard way as Hurricane misses, the 3rd miss this game. This gives Typhlosion an opening to do huge damage with another Flamethrower, but it goes for a Will-O-Wisp. This gives Colorado another chance as Zapdos lands the first Hurricane of the game for the Dugtrios, and it could not have come at a better time as it confuses Typhlosion as well. The Hisuian Firestarter hits itself in confusion, allowing Zapdos to make it a tie game once again with Thunderbolt. Palisand comes in for Pig's Eye, forcing Zapdos to rely once again on the accuracy of Hurricane as it lands a huge one, again confusing Pig's Eye Pokemon. This time, however, Palossand fights through the confusion and lands the first Stone Edge of the game, this one for a crit as it takes the Zapdos to below 10% health. After 2 successful Hurricanes, Zapdos misses another Hurricane, the 4th miss of the game for Colorado. But again, Pig's Eye gets cute, sets up Stealth Rocks instead of going for damage on Zapdos. Did I say 4 misses? Make that 5 missed attacks for Colorado, as Hurricane misses again, allowing Palossand to get rid of the Cantonia Legendary with another Stone Edge, giving the Pig Knight a 3-2 lead. However, the previously seeming misplay with Rocks in fact comes in handy as it breaks Lucario's Focus Sash, allowing Palossand to take the crunch and finish off Lucario in one hit thanks to Earthquake, making it a 3-1 game. But with Technician boosted Bullet Punch Scizor, this one's not at all over for Colorado as the first round pick comes in and finishes off Palossand with a Bullet Punch to bring the score to 2-1. Scizor said, "Get on my back, team," as his Bullet Punch takes Gengar to below half health and doesn't get hit with Cursed Body as Gengar's Shadow Ball was a certain 2-hit KO. Even if it did, it might have not mattered as Quick Claw activates, giving Scizor the first turn, finishing off the Gengar with another Bullet Punch. This time though, Cursed Body activates, forcing Scizor to rely on Quick Claw X Scizor to pull this one back. But it doesn't happen as Hoopa Unbound hits a Hyperspace Fury to finish off Scizor and the Colorado Dugtrio, giving the Pig Knight a 1-0 victory. Colorado experienced the high risk, but not the high reward, as 2 missed Stone Edges and an astounding 3 missed Hurricanes will be looked at as the reason they lost this matchup. Scizor won't be though, as its 3 knockouts damn near snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. Colorado will attempt to bounce back to 500 and improve their 2-3 record and -4 differential against the undefeated Cambridge Clodsires. Pig's Eye finally get one that they can celebrate, and it was another nail-biter. Palossand takes the top Pokemon for the Pig Knight, playing a big part in getting them to 3-2 and closing out the first half of the season with a win, scoring 2 knockouts and an important layer of hazards. The challenges don't stop there, as Pig's Eye will walk into Arizona to take on the Diamondbacks next week. Before we look at how our teams look going into Week 6, let's take a moment to celebrate the best Week 5 had to offer, starting with the plays of the week. Number 5. Frostlass survives a heat wave with its Focus Sash and knocks out Tornadus Tyrion. Number 4. Zoroark Terra Fairies to knock out Murkrow. Number 3. Duff Guy Pat predicts the taunt from Grimmsnarl, landing a Gunk Shot in return. Number 2. On turn 1, Leafeon Swords dances, with turn 2 terrestrializing into a rock, knocking out Torkoal with a Terra Rock Blast. Number 1. Hob predicts a population bomb from Mousehold and switches in Corviknight, whose Rocky Helmet eliminates Mousehold. And now for the top 5 Pokemon of Week 5. Number 5. Leafeon of the Minnesota Doduos. Number 4. Unnovan Zoroark of the Birmingham Bouffalants. Number 3. Clodsire of the Cambridge Clodsires. Number 2. Iron Moth of the San Antonio Spheal. Number 1. Garganacl of the British Bangers. Now let's take a look at our standings going into the second half of the season. No changes at the very top, as Cambridge remains in first place at 5-0. San Antonio gets to show off our tiebreaker system, as despite having a lesser differential, they own the tiebreaker over Arizona, meaning the Spheal will get second place, as the Backs will still move up due to Minnesota's loss and now sit at third place. We have a 3-way tie following with Minnesota, Long Island, and Pig's Eye in 4th, 5th, and 6th due to their score differentials. Minnesota and Long Island play next week to move up and own the tiebreaker over the other, as Pig's Eye will play both of them later in the second half of the season. Colorado is our first team outside the playoffs, as they own the tiebreakers over both Aussie and British, giving us 7 through 9 place teams. Thanks to their Week 1 victory over the Boufs, Corpus Christi still sits in 10th place despite being tied with Birmingham and having a worse differential. And rounding it all out, Boston remains in 12th place with a chance to move up next week in our premium matchup against Birmingham. We're officially halfway through the first half of the DSPL season, and only Boston is looking at a vacation plans at this moment. I personally cannot wait until Week 6 kicks off, as this is the final week teams can make trades, with the deadline being at the end of the Week 6 live stream. That stream's happening on October 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube, where I stream games live, as well as on Twitch at twitch.tv/tgrum. The easiest way to remember that is to leave a like on this video and subscribe, and the algorithm will do the rest, I've been told. Let me know in the comments below who you think the first half MVP and first half general manager of the year is, and I'll be back later this week previewing week 6, as well as giving my thoughts on the mid-season point in another video this week. Until then, I'll see you all next time.
Grumm TV thanks you for watching this presentation of the Dork Side Pokemon League.